Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, back on F1 2020 as always, and we are back again on the classic car grind of trying to get some more W's in the world record. But you can see we have a few familiar faces at this attempt because I think some people might be anticipating my arrival at trying to claim some of these records, and we are at Silverstone, which I can't believe I haven't actually done yet in the classic cars. I thought I had to double check because I thought I already done it, but obviously not. So now we go on to the Ferrari F2004. Absolutely love this car. I've been driving it a lot in open lobbies recently, and straight away we get the validation, which is normally what happens 9 times out of 10. I think last time out it didn't, but this time it did, because with the default setup, as always, it is just absolutely just understeer city. It's like driving a cargo ship. It really is. You can just see, look, I think we're like a mile away from that inside apex. It is absolutely horrendous, but it should feel very, very fun going round this track. So the record at the moment is a 25.9 by, I think, RTL Jonah, who I had to dethrone at Austria. And we have the likes of Tyrrell Button, Fiercer Oxtez, a few familiar faces who I know are very good in these cars. So I wasn't expecting this record to be easy to get, but it is Silverstone, one of my favourite tracks on the game. So I should be feeling quite comfortable very, very quickly round this circuit, and you can already see there's a bit of a handful with the stock setup, so I really didn't want to spend that much time with it. I'm just hoping I could get up to speed a bit pretty quickly, but coming across the line, it's going to be a 29.2 for the first lap, which puts me 4,000 in the world, but we did have an validation, so we are going to continue once again. And now, if you're new to these style videos, then I always show quite a lot of laps in a row, because I always want to show off the progress of what it truly looks like when you're trying to go after a world record. Because so many people, when they go on the leaderboard, they look at someone's time and it just looks so demoralizing, and you just think, how on earth can I achieve that kind of lap time? And that's the whole point of these videos, because I just love doing these for a start. These are probably one of my favourite videos to do along the league racing, but it also gives people hope and a true perspective of what it really takes going on this time trial grind journey. And you can already see that as the laps go by, we have made quite a big improvement already here, about half a second up coming through onto the hangar straight now. And yeah, it's just a case of just learning bit by bit, making sure you don't restart the lap. That's probably my number one advice, as we do get a track invalidation, but we are just going to continue once again, because it's just so important to just build that rhythm. You have to build that rhythm and momentum. You really do need it, and you can see, I think that was a 28.6 on that occasion. But continuing on again, we're going to keep on going, because I don't want to put on a serve until I feel a good rhythm with the track itself. You can see a pretty nice first sequence of corners, third gear, trying to get on the traction nice and early. It takes quite a while for the lag to kick in with the throttle, but getting a very, very nice exit. Going to this one now, went super wide on the first lap. Now here, you want to take a wide entry, but that was probably a little bit too wide, so not completely perfect. Third gear. This car, you really want gears in between the gears, because it either feels too short on the revs or too high on the revs. But third gear was pretty nice. Can't go flat out with the stock setup for here, so I'm having to downshift into 6th gear, but you can see we're a good half a second up. Throwing the car in completely flat out, and then having to slow the car down quite a bit first left. Slow in, fast out for this straight. You don't want to hit the grass on the exit. And about just shy of half a second up once again, but our last lap was invalidated, hence why that is not the delta. Coming towards the hangar straight, want to be doing a super late apex, use all the track on the exit, and this is very, very tricky in this car. Slow in, fast out again, just kissing the curb on the inside, then going up through to get a short shift and to minimise the wheel spin, and it is a 28.1. So that puts me 73rd on the leaderboard. So I was quite satisfied with that. I feel pretty warmed up now, and now it's just a case of going into the leaderboards, and you can see 25.9 is the time to beat. So we've still got quite a way to go, 2 and a bit seconds, 2.2 seconds or something like that to go. And you can see I haven't used the setup here, so we're going to go down the list just to check out anyone else who hasn't used a setup, which there is someone there who is using ABS, which is quite beneficial in this car. And I think there is one person who has beaten me. I think his name is Daniel King, if we're about to see it. Yes, we are. And I know he's a pretty quick driver as well. I've actually come against him online. So I was satisfied with that. I'm ready to put on the setup of RTL Jonah. And we're just going to have a quick look at it here before I do that. As a 1.6, see the suspension. It's very different to what I would run for a modern car, especially with the tyre pressures there. So I'm always going to give it a chance. But I think you're just about to see here something I always say all the time is just because it's the number one setup and that was used doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And straight away I could just see, no, I can't even control the car. It was just so lazy on the back end of the car. It was just always wanted to wash away from me. So you can see straight away with the 1.6 wings, we're going to be getting quite a lot of lap time in a straight line. But coming into here, you don't have as much downforce to slow the car down, so you have to actually brake a bit earlier. And on the exit here, the car was just very, very snappy and pointy. Like the front end would go exactly where I want it to go, but the rear end would just be like a merry-go-round. And see, going through this corner here, again, the car just always wanted to get away from me. Going to hit the car, it's just completely sliding, and this is just absolutely uncontrollable for me. But I'm still going to persist. I still give it a little bit of time before I change it, because you do have to adapt to driver style. You can just see the speed that we have gained through there. We're still improving on our previous best with the stock setup, and you can just see with the downforce and the straight line speed. Now the pointy front end is very good. It's just in the slow speed corners is where it is really, really suffering. You can see it coming towards the end of this straight. This is about to go about 4 tenths up on my previous lap. Going to here, you can see on the Delta it's just going up so much. So I knew there was a lot of potential in this, and it might just be the case of me just getting used to it, but I could just tell straight away that it definitely wasn't suited to my driving style. And this also proves as well is that a lot of people do this in league racing, that you could really have a setup that is very good in qualifying. I think this is probably the biggest case ever on a Formula 1 game where this is true, that you could have a setup that is very good in qualifying, but in the race it is just horrible on tyres, on traction, on fuel. It's so hard to be consistent with. Yet over a lap you could probably gain another 10th or 2 tenths with the setup. So no, and that goes for time trial, and that's why with my normally with my setups, when I did them, it was the case of I always tried to make it tailored towards the race, and I will think about actually continuing that after esports. That's the reason why I really haven't at this point. But you can see here now I'm actually on a bit of a better lap this time, and you can see we're almost a second up, and we haven't even hit the first sector yet, so gaining so much time for it to hit, easily go be above a second. So in fast out, a little bit wide on this occasion. That's why you don't want to hit the grass, otherwise that will happen. But we got into another lap, going even quicker, going into the Maggots and Beckett section, the fastest and my most favourite sequence of corners on the F1 calendar. You can see we've got 1.5 seconds up going underneath the hanger straight, and you can see by the minimap of how far that actually is going towards the end of hang straight. Really being quite aggressive here, and this is actually a very good lap and still using the same setup, but despite the speed, you can just see the slow speed, it just feels really horrible with the throttle delay. It just feels horrible. But that is a 26.4, so about less than half a second away, and already into the top 5 of the leaderboard. So I definitely felt that like there was a lot more time within the lap itself, as we've got Tyrrell Button as our next competitor here, and you do have to give it a little bit of time just to try and adjust your style, adjust the driving style to the setup itself. But see, going through into here now, you have to be very, very smooth on the controls, otherwise it's just going to really spit you out. Try not to carry too much speed in there, otherwise the back end will just want to spin round. See, gaining a little bit of time, then losing it on the exit, staying nice and tight to the right hand side. Not quite a flat out corner here, almost flat out into here, and gaining some time, so about half a tenth up now. And no, this is actually pretty good with time to find in the last sector to really doing this sequence of corners very, very nicely. And that was almost perfect. Had a little bit of a slow run going onto the hanger straight, but Magnus Beckett's was done very, very nicely. Still down on Tyrrell Button, who did a 26.1, I believe, or 0 in fact. Going pretty nice at the end of that straight, and now going to a chicane. I lost the car a little bit here on the previous lap. You can see much more tidy on this occasion. You can see the time of the delta we have gained here, and it is a 26.1 now, so definitely improving, and now that promotes me to P3 on this leaderboard. But skipping on again, I tried to keep using this setup, and you can see we're over a tenth up as well, so this is not even far off the world record. But I just found it quite inconsistent for me to use, as I was just saying before. I really need a setup that really suits my driving style, and this is a setup where you can't carry that much speed into the corners, and you just have to be so insanely you just have to drive it very weird. You have to like flick it in and then hold the steering angle at all times, otherwise if you just turn too much, the back end will just want to go everywhere. So I quickly found that this really wasn't working for me, despite the time being quite good. So I decided to make the anti-roll bars stiffer, because I noticed on this guy's setup they're actually very, very low. Now, which will give you more rotation, but sometimes it will just give you a little bit too much rotation in a way. So I'm actually raising the front anti-roll bar, because I felt this is a direction I haven't really gone with the setups at all, and that was the problem I was having, that the car was just rotating too much, especially at the rear. So I'm going to make it stiffer, and hopefully this will just lock it into place a lot more. So coming over the line here to start this lap, this is the first lap I've actually used this setup, and you can see straight away, for some reason, we're just going so much faster in a straight line. But coming into this is the first true test of how the setup is going to be. You can just see straight away we're just so much more stable. The rear is just not over rotating a little bit on the exit, and we actually get quite a poor exit in fact, but no, still gaining quite a bit of time. So going through the apex of the corner, the car was just so much more intact. This time carrying the speed that I like. I really like to carry speed through apexes, and the car is not getting away from me and getting quite a nice exit coming off this corner, so about half a tenth up. And so far the setup is so good. Coming through into here, carrying a lot of speed on this occasion, gaining a bit more time on the exit. Now going through Magnus and Beckett's. This really wasn't a problem with the previous setup, and you can see we're actually gaining quite a lot of time and getting a very good exit as well. So over a tenth up now on this lap, and this could even be in contention for the world record lap. So coming through the end of hanger straight, really trying to force the car into the apex, getting a very nice exit, going through into chicane. This is so crucial, this corner. You've got to carry so much more minimum speed, and you can just see the time that we have gained through just the middle of the corner, losing a bit on the exit, but that's a 125.999, and that puts me P2 on the leaderboards currently. But we haven't finished. We're still going to continue as well, because this is only the first lap I did with this setup, and now my next rival is the world record lap of Jonah, and you can see the exit now we have got off this corner. We're over a tenth up, so I knew that this setup was just instantly so much more better for me. We actually go very wide on here, unfortunately, but gaining the time back on the exit, so just carrying more and more confidence as the corner's going, because I know what the setup is going to do, and we're about another almost half a tenth up once again, and this is on track to beat the world record now. So I'm really throwing the car into here, and getting such a good exit coming off it here. Going to Maggins and Beckett's completely flat out for his right, then quickly over to the left, then slow in fast out, kissing this curb. Try not to kiss the grass on the exit. That was a very, very nice exit, and you can see the time we're gaining. We are ahead of the world record lap at this point, coming towards the end of the hanger straight. Very, very late apex, trying to be as early as you dare on the throttle, almost a tenth up going into the chicane. So try and go slow in, fast out again, trying not to clunk this curb. Get on the throttle as early as you can, losing a little bit of time, but going across the line. It is a 1:25.929, and I can confirm that that was enough for the world record by a 1,000th of a second. But I think you can tell the way I'm commentating on this that I wasn't done there. I really felt like there was actually quite a lot more time in this lap, especially changing that on the setup. It was just a complete game changer for me. So only the second lap I did after making that adjustment, I set the world record there. So I knew that there was so much more time. But the problem is, the longer you continue in a time trial, the more frustrated you can get, and the more you're kind of set into that driving pattern as well. As we go come across the line here, is a 1:25.881. So we do improve already, but again, I think you could tell there is definitely still a lot more time in this in itself, and we just kept on invalidating at this stage, just trying to push the limits a little bit too far here. But now this is a very, very nice lap that we did. So coming across the line, this was actually an invalidated 8:28, so I knew that was definitely achievable. So going through turn 1, taking a very, very nice line going to it, and now into the first braking zone of the track, absolutely nailing that apex. And then the second as well, not even a hint of a lockup, and getting a pretty poor exit that could have been so much better, but we are still 600th up on my best lap of the 881. Now going into here, hitting the apex at the very last minute. That was very, very nice. Then going into here, trying not to carry too much speed, don't go out too out wide. Third gear, use all the track, and that again was a very good exit. So almost a 10th up right now on track for 25.7. Then go into here, try and carry as much speed as you dare, and that was almost perfect. Can't quite go flat out. Now you can go flat out through to here, downshift into here, and then slow in, fast out, trying to get as good line as possible. Lost a bit of time there, could have carried a bit more speed going through that right-hander, but we are still up on this lap. Coming towards the end of the hanger straight, taking quite a tight line on this occasion, so losing a bit of time to my best time, and then going to chicane. It is all or nothing going through into here, try and carry so much speed, and we carry so much speed through this right-hander, and going across the line, we are going to improve our lap to a 1:25.852, and that was me done for this session. And I think you can still tell that we got the world record, we already had it, but I think there is a lot more time in that. I think a 6 is definitely possible in this car around there, but nonetheless the lap was still good, and I will probably go back later in the game to improve that even more. But the setup, I didn't really change too much from the world record setup, apart from those roll bars that I spoke about. I just felt like it kept the car so much more stable for me, and also the rear tire pressures, just to give me some more mechanical grip in the low speed corners. I hope you enjoyed that. I think the lap was pretty good, as I said. I think there's still time to be found and improved. But again, thank you so much for supporting my channel for this series. I absolutely love doing it. Enjoy the Grand Prix this weekend, and I will catch you very soon. Peace.